We are restless creatures, forever caught between the fear of what might happen and the regret of what already has. Worry gnaws at the edges of our peace, whispering that tomorrow is uncertain and today is insufficient. It parades before us all the possible failures, the unforeseen disasters, the roads that might collapse beneath our feet. And so we clutch at control, as though the world were a fragile glass we must hold together with trembling hands. Yet the irony is this: the tighter we grasp, the quicker it slips away. Worry is a thief not of tomorrow's troubles, but of today's strength. It offers no wisdom, no clarity, no true preparation. It only clouds the mind with shadows that may never come. To worry is to live twice over, once in the hardship itself, and once again in the endless rehearsals of fear. What would it mean then to lay this burden down? It would mean to recognize that the path was never meant to be carried by your strength alone. There is a hand that leads, quiet but firm, gentle yet unyielding. To trust it is not to abandon reason or cease responsibility, but to acknowledge that your vision is small while his is infinite. You see only the bend in the road. He sees the horizon beyond it. You weigh your steps with trembling uncertainty. He knows the destination from the beginning. To surrender worry is not weakness. It is the deepest strength, for it admits that human striving cannot command the universe. Consider the lilies that do not labor, and yet they are clothed with a splendor beyond kings. Consider the sparrows that do not store in barns, and yet not one falls without being seen. Creation itself testifies that provision is real, that guidance is not a myth, but the very structure upon which life rests. When we worry, we attempt to write the story ourselves, but when we let God lead, we discover that the story has already been written with wisdom beyond ours. So the call is simple: loosen your grip. Do not drown in the flood of imagined fears. Step forward as one who knows the path is charted by a greater hand. For the one who holds tomorrow is the same who holds you now. Worry steals today's peace without securing tomorrow. Worry is like a shadow that stretches longer than the object that casts it, often larger and more frightening than the reality itself. It clings to us in quiet hours, whispering possibilities that may never come to pass, draining our strength before the day has even asked for it. To worry is to live in a world of imagined burdens, to carry weights that belong neither to this moment nor perhaps to any moment at all. It convinces us that if we turn the problem over and over in our minds, we might somehow solve it before it arrives. Yet in truth, worry adds nothing to our wisdom and subtracts much from our peace. It is like trying to pay tomorrow's debt with today's coin, leaving us impoverished both now and later. Each day brings its own challenges, and within each challenge is the grace sufficient to meet it. But worry blinds us to that grace by flooding us with fears of what might be. It is a counterfeit form of control, tricking us into believing that constant anxiety is the same as preparation, when in reality it only saps the very energy we would need if the trial should come. The heart that is full of worry cannot rest, cannot listen, cannot see clearly the gifts already given, because it is consumed with rehearsals of every possible calamity. Worry does not shorten suffering, it lengthens it, forcing us to endure in imagination what we may never encounter in life. It steals joy from our present moments and makes us prisoners of the future. Peace, on the other hand, is found in trusting that the same hand that has carried us this far will carry us further still, that the same wisdom that guided us yesterday is alive today. To recognize this is to see worry for what it truly is: an intruder, an uninvited guest at the table of the soul, pretending to be necessary when it is only harmful. The truth is that no amount of worry has ever bent the course of destiny or altered the weight of tomorrow's trials. What it has done, time and time again, is rob men and women of sleep, of joy, of strength, and of the quiet confidence that life is not an accident, but is held in the hands of one greater than ourselves. Worry steals today's peace without securing tomorrow. Trusting God means surrendering control to His greater vision. Trusting God means surrendering control to His greater vision, a vision that stretches far beyond the horizon of our understanding. We often cling to the illusion that if we plan tightly enough, if we arrange every detail with precision, then life will unfold according to our design. Yet how quickly even the strongest plans unravel at a single unexpected turn. The truth is that our knowledge is painfully limited and our foresight fragile at best. We see only a fragment of the path, a narrow stretch of road beneath our feet, while the rest is hidden in a mist we cannot pierce. To trust God is to acknowledge this limitation and to believe that His view is not bound by time or circumstance. He sees the beginning and the end as one, and what seems to us a detour or even a disaster may in fact be the very road to the good we could never have imagined. Surrendering control does not mean becoming passive or careless, but rather releasing the weight of outcomes that were never ours to command. It is the recognition that human striving alone cannot guarantee success, that effort without trust is like rowing against an ocean current with no destination in sight. Trust transforms that striving into partnership with divine wisdom, turning fear into courage and uncertainty into quiet confidence. When we surrender, we do not fall into chaos but into order greater than our own, into the care of one who knows us more deeply than we know ourselves. His vision is not merely for our comfort but for our growth, not just for ease but for purpose. Often we fear that letting go means losing, but in reality it is the only way to truly gain. By clinging to control, we may secure small things, but by yielding, we are given treasures that far surpass our ambition. Trust is the posture of the heart that says, "I will walk even when I cannot see the whole road, for I know who walks before me." It is a surrender that does not diminish our dignity but restores it, for we were never created to bear the burden of absolute control. To trust God is to breathe freely again, to release the grip of anxiety, to live not as prisoners of chance, but as children guided by a will far greater and far kinder than our own freedom, begins when you let His hand guide your steps. Freedom begins when you let His hand guide your steps, because the soul was never designed to wander without direction. We spend much of our lives in pursuit of autonomy, imagining that true freedom means doing as we please, choosing every path according to our own desires, and answering to no one but ourselves. Yet this so-called freedom often leaves us weary, burdened, and entangled in consequences we did not foresee. The heart becomes restless under the weight of its own choices, longing for a compass that does not shift with every passing feeling or fear. When you place your steps in the care of God, you discover that freedom is not the absence of guidance but the presence of it. His leading does not chain you. It releases you from the tyranny of uncertainty and the endless cycle of second guessing. To follow His hand is to walk with assurance that the way ahead has purpose, that each twist of the path holds meaning even when the reason is not yet clear. This guidance is not forced upon you but offered, like a light in the darkness that you may choose to walk toward or away from. Those who resist it often find themselves chasing after fleeting satisfactions, only to return empty, while those who yield find that their lives are aligned with a deeper harmony, a design written into creation itself. Freedom comes in knowing that you no longer walk alone, that you are not abandoned to chance or accident, but are carried by wisdom greater than your own. It is the freedom of release, of laying down the fear of choosing wrongly, for the one who guides you does not mislead. This freedom is not the removal of trials, but the strength to face them without despair, not the erasure of questions, but the assurance that even unanswered questions can be safely held. To walk by his hand is to walk in rhythm with grace, where each step forward is less about striving to control and more about receiving what is already prepared. It is to discover that the narrow way is not confining but expansive, because it opens onto life in its fullness. When the soul learns this trust, it no longer mistakes bondage for liberty, nor chaos for choice, for it has found in surrender a freedom that cannot be taken away, a freedom that begins and endures only in his leading.